What's up, everybody? Thank you all for listening into this new episode of P3, where progression is the obsession. Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. It's that time of year, yes, where it's cold and you can't ride bikes outside unless your wheels are 5 inches wide. Hang in there. There's only a half year left of winter to get through. Anyway, today's episode was a fun one. We sat down with Craig Gietzen. Craig is a bike enthusiast. He is a mechanic for a local bike shop here in the Grand Rapids area. He's a musician, OG snowboarder, and an all-around good guy. I know I don't speak for myself when I say it was a pleasure to sit down and chat with him, to get to know him a little bit. We do have some announcements, sponsorships, and merch to go over. So, Brian, what's up?
Well, first of all, I would like to say we have a live event, our first one ever, on January 23rd at City Built. We will be doing the pregame warm-up for the WMMBA meeting. We'll be doing live questions and answers with the board members. Then we will be recording the presentation that Dan gives to everybody. So come out to City Built on the 23rd and come see us. We'll see how everyone does with getting heckled on stage. Our sponsor is Building Blocks Foundation. The website is buildingblocksfoundationinc.com. You can put your donations in. They're providing speech to underserved populations in the greater West Michigan area. Also, I will throw in, we are sponsored by geezebars.com. Check them out. We have a bag in front of us that are great. Also, check out our Instagram at Pedal Progressions Podcast. And if you click on our link tree, you will find that we have all of our links to most recent podcast episodes on all the major podcasting apps. And now on YouTube, you can listen to us as well. And you can email the show at pedalprogressions@gmail.com. Kellen, what have you been working on? I see you've got some new hoodies.
Yeah, I just added a new hoodie this week. We appreciate you guys checking it out. Anything you buy goes right back into the podcast to make it better. There's still time to get something before Christmas, or if you're listening just after Christmas, there's time to spend that Christmas money on it. Helps us out a lot. We appreciate it. Thanks.
Thank you, Kellen. Yes, do check out our merchandise and buy a sweatshirt. You need one. It's cold outside. Also, check out our sponsorships and look into Geese Bars. They're delicious. They got a great texture. Here is the cook himself, Craig Gietzen.
You've recorded in the studio with your band and stuff, haven't you?
Yeah, generally I wasn't ever the singer. Like the band I play in now, we all sing, but none of us are very good singers, so...
You held up a guitar, so I assume you're not a 4-part harmony or something?
No.
Okay. A barbershop quartet.
What kind of music?
Brian's heard me sing.
What kind of music do you play?
Rock and roll.
Okay.
Classic rock, a little country-ish.
Nice. Like cover songs and stuff like that?
Yeah.
Stuff you don't have your own?
We have some originals.
Yeah, nice.
I played in bands back in the 90s, I guess. We had like 3 CDs out. So.
Oh, nice. What was your band name then?
That band was called Milk House.
Milk House?
Milk House, yep.
Nice.
Oh.
So...
You've heard of them?
Yes, I have.
Ryan knew that.
I did not know that.
Oh, you did not know that?
No, I know that from playing in bands way back in the day.
So we played the old intersection probably once a month. I guess we were pretty popular. I mean, we packed the place, so they kept having us back, and it was a lot of fun. We did Lansing and Kalamazoo, so kind of the college circuit, Big Rapids, opened for a few pretty big names, I guess. Opened for No Doubt at the intersection.
Oh, nice.
Really?
Right before they got famous. Actually, they had just kind of gotten famous, like on a I'm Just a Girl song on MTV. So that place was packed, and, we were the opening act, and it was pretty cool. No one really cared, but...
Yeah.
Did you get to meet Gwen Stefani?
I did not.
Dang it.
I was carrying my stuff out, loading out, and I got back in, and they were on stage, and by then, I didn't get a chance to meet her.
Cool.
Met some of her band, though.
That's neat.
Yeah. We played with a band called Tragically Hip at the Orbit Room, and they were a Canadian band, really, really popular in Canada, and they would sell out, like, stadiums over there. So when they played in Michigan, a lot of people would come from Canada because, they're playing in a small venue all of a sudden. Yeah. So it was pretty, the hardcore, I don't know what they called, they had like hipsters or what they called them. They would flock to Michigan. So
yeah,
that was a pretty cool show. So.
It's kind of a strange rule in Canada, but on the radio, like 20% of all the songs they got to play has to be a Canadian artist. Like,
really?
That's how they promote their own music, which kind of a cool thing, but I know a lot more Canadian bands are more known in Canada just because they have to play.
Were you going to call it Canada?
Yes.
Yeah.
Canadian bands.
I think I know more YouTubers that are from Canada than I do bands aside from like Rush. I think Rush is the only one.
Sum 41.
Are they really? Okay. Anybody else?
There's a whole
Brian Adams,
Okay. He's got that one song.
Summer 69.
Yeah. That one.
Someone had to say it.
So today we're joined by Craig Gietzen, right?
Correct.
To make sure I get that right.
Yep.
I only call you Geet, so like,
Yeah.
I'm like,
Geets, or people call me Geese, so either one.
well, that's not very nice.
Yeah, well, I answered to whatever.
The geese.
I did just go to your 60th birthday party recently.
Yeah.
That was a good time.
Lived that long, I can't believe it.
So Craig's been in the West Michigan area for a long time.
Forever.
Racer.
Yep.
About 60 years.
Yep.
But he is a mechanic at Rockford Bike Shop.
Correct.
I was listening to the other podcast earlier and I almost mixed it up with Speed Merchants. We just thought we'd have him on because he's got some excellent stories ranging from biking, snowboarding, skateboarding. I'm going to save that one for the end, I think. Craig, how long have you been riding bikes?
Well, 55 years probably, I guess. You start probably even before that. You get a bike as a little kid, and we lived out in Ada, so it was a lot different than Ada is now. But we just rode bikes behind our house. I had a big field behind our house, and mostly I was riding motorcycles. Probably not when I was 5, but maybe more like 8. But we had a big field behind our house, and we built a motocross track, and we had a bunch of neighbors that had dirt bikes, and it was a lot of fun. We would just, I would be out there building jumps and, berms or whatever. And that was probably when I was a little bit older. But yeah, I've been riding bikes as long as I can remember. Really started, like I said, with motorcycles, and then kind of after that, BMX kind of started coming out. And I got into a BMX bike. Pretty much back then we kind of made our own, with the old Stingrays, and they kind of just started coming out with like knobby tires, and you could buy, handlebars with the crossbar. You'd get like a BMX seat on it. And yeah, it was pretty much converting old Stingrays to BMX bikes.
Yeah, BMX bikes have come a long way from when they first started back then.
Oh, dude, they're different looking now.
Definitely.
I mean, they still have the same fundamental shape, but if you really look at them, they're different.
Long and low.
Well, especially I'm thinking of like the freestyle BMX frames or whatever. Even those have changed. But yeah, the BMX race bikes, those are just kind of ugly in my opinion. I don't know. I can't get into them. They're fast looking. I'll give them that.
Yeah, I think they're serving a purpose. A lot of guys are riding the clip-in pedals and just disc brakes, and it's just amazing. Mm-hmm. So
I think you mentioned you had a field kind of when you were younger to ride motorcycles and stuff, and I don't think there's anything greater, and we take it for granted now, but like when you're a kid, because I had it too, where like a friend or a neighbor basically has a field and they say, yeah, you kids can do whatever you want there, just don't cross this fence or just stay in that corner or whatever. It's like, I don't think you could have a better gift as a kid.
Right.
We get this area to field to do whatever we want. Really?
It was really awesome. And, I don't even know who owned it. Somebody owned it because, they ended up building houses there. But no one really cared what we did with it.
That's the best.
That I know of. So, yeah, it was a lot of fun.
My buddy my buddy lives in a development that's been developed since he moved in there. He was one of the first, I think, 4 or 5 houses out there, and I helped him move. So when I went out there, it was right around the time I got into mountain bikes again. And I noticed that kind of at the end of the cul-de-sac, there were like mounds of dirt that had just been dumped there from when they were excavating or whatever. So I go over there, I'm looking at it, and I was like, if you could just like shave that off and move this here, you could actually kind of do this like little serpentine right through there at the end or whatever. And I did not know what I was doing, but this was all clay. So of course I would like go over there after work, and my buddy would just kind of keep me company or whatever. Then he got into mountain biking. But yeah, we built this like miniature slalom course all through there, and ultimately we rode it once and we realized we built it too tight together. I was like, and we don't know what we're doing. One of us fell, and then eventually we kind of discovered trails and moved out from there. But now there's houses everywhere out there. But yeah, just to have an open field that no one cares about is God's gift to kids.
Yeah,
it's great.
Did you start racing BMX when you were doing it, or were you just getting into it? Or
well, I think I mentioned I raced motocross for maybe 5 years when I was from about the ages of 10 to 15. I think I quit before I could even drive. my older brothers used to take me. I was the youngest of 7 kids. My dad was quite a bit older, and he would buy me the motorcycle. He would come to a couple races, but my older brothers were like 7 and 8 years older than me, and they thought they liked motorcycles, but they liked to watch me race, and they'd get a cooler full of beer and sit up on the hill and cheer me on, and I'd bring a buddy with me or something, and my brothers we had this old van. They'd get the beer and the lawn chairs, and I would race, and it would be their entertainment for the weekend. And then eventually they kind of got their own lives, and I really couldn't do it by myself. I mean, it's a lot of work, working on the bikes and getting it on the truck or the trailer by yourself. And so it just that's kind of when I started embracing BMX, because it was just easier. I could do it by myself, and I had more friends that did it. So, we were always riding around our neighborhood or a different neighborhood. I did some racing of BMX for a handful of years, probably 4 years of that, probably from the last year of motocross and BMX kind of overlapped. So probably from like 15 to 18, I would say.
I feel like that's a way a lot of people go, is they start motocross, then it gets too expensive, or they get hurt and they end up moving the bikes. And even a lot of the pros grew up on dirt bikes and that, and they made the swap over, and it just feels like a very common thing to happen.
Yeah, and we had some pretty good tracks. Close by, like there was the one in Portland. There was Red Bud we'd go down to. There was the one up in Stanton, which was not too far. So it was pretty easy to shuffle around the circuit. And then as far as BMX, locally we had a track in Cascade just outside there was an old ice arena there that had a track.
Okay, I grew up in Cascade, but this may be before my time, because I don't remember a ice arena or a track there.
Okay, it was kind of almost right across from like where the D&W is.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I think it's Thornhills.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I know what that is now. Now it's like
Maze Craze.
Yeah, it used to be Maze Craze back there too.
Yeah.
Now it's like a swim school.
What is that?
Like a goldfish swim school, but yeah.
Okay.
Back in the days.
So yeah, the ice arena, they had an outdoor BMX track right next to it. Then they actually did some indoor racing there. There was a track in Jenison and Plainwell that we would go down to. Every once in a while we'd go over by Detroit. I think it was called Waterford or something.
Yeah.
They'd have the big races over there, but not too often, but it was a lot of fun.
That's cool.
Yeah.
When did you get into mountain biking then?
So let me see. Probably when I was about 21 or 20. It was just, I guess I'd seen maybe in like a magazine, maybe BMX Action showed some mountain bikes, or there was I think Mountain Bike Action may have just came out, and picked that up, and a lot of the bikes, there may have been like a couple brands that you could buy a mountain bike, maybe.
Did you have a stump jumper? Wasn't that like the first like real?
That was one of them. There was even a couple other, I can't even think of the other ones, but I built one up out of like a cruiser BMX. I think it was like a CW cruiser. Maybe, I don't even think it was obviously wasn't 29-inch wheels yet. Just a 26-inch cruiser, put like maybe a 5-speed derailleur on it. I don't think it had cantilever brakes or anything, just maybe a BMX brake. But that was kind of my first endeavor into mountain biking. And we just would find, where did we go to ride? There was a trail called Seidman Park, which people can only run on or hike on now, but that's where we started mountain biking. There was a trail towards Grand Valley called Amon Park, but I don't think they let you bike there anymore. I think it's just hiking. Yankee Springs was just kind of getting started. There were some guys working on that, Mark Kramer and Bob Lawson, I think it was his name. For a long time, it was called the Lawson-Kramer Trail, I think, down at Yankee Springs. But we would go down there every once in a while and ride. And eventually, I think my first mountain bike that I bought was a Diamondback. Diamondback Apex. I can remember it well. It was kind of a turquoise color with like black splattered paint on it. It was pretty sweet. And it wasn't long after that, I think I did my first mountain bike race at Pando, which
that trail was hard.
Yeah, it was a great trip. I had went out and watched one of the first races there. I think it may have been the first year.
Like Fun Promotions at the
Brett
time?
was putting them on.
Brett already?
And that was the first mountain bike race I saw. And I think I said to myself, oh man, I'm going to get ready for this for next year. So there may have been 2 before I raced, but I was only aware of the 1. So
Do you know what year it was about?
Early
late
90s.
80s.
Okay.
I was gonna say it was because I started in '96, and my first race was Brent Cannonsburg race in the fall. The one that's always like October, or used to always be October.
Okay.
And where you still had to like ride through the old half pipe and stuff and like come out of the woods there, and the trail was like 3.5 miles long.
Yeah.
Not 12.5 or whatever now.
Yeah, they were fun because we did laps, versus I kind of like the lap thing because you kind of figure out the course a little bit. The course maybe changes a little bit. Oops. Back then, sometimes, the description of the race, it says you have to have the ability to have fun and count laps, because a lot of people would get confused on what lap they're on.
Well, now all the Olympic ones are short laps with more spectators and stuff. And I always say that if the Olympic format that is currently going on was around back when I was starting to think that cross country was getting lame, I would have stuck with it, because now there's features, it's a lot more fan friendly. You get all the laps in, you can get back to your mechanic. Like some of these races, you're out like Yankee, you're out 13 miles,
right,
and you're
right.
like, oh well, I got a flat tire, I guess I'm done.
Right.
Where in a short race, you can like limp it in, get it fixed, catch people, and like you didn't waste all that money to be there or whatever.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons I like cyclocross, which I like to do a lot now. I'm kind of jumping ahead in the story, but you do a lot of laps. You're right near the start line all the time. You can figure out the course, and the course changes from, if it's muddy, you find different lines and different, as the track evolves. So yeah, that's a lot of fun.
Yeah, to Brian's point, didn't in the Olympics someone was leading a race, got a flat tire, had to go change his tire, and then got back in the race, and he either came in first or second?
Yeah, Pitcock, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
He had a questionable pass towards the end.
Yeah. Well,
But it's enough where you can get your bike repaired and get back in the race. I mean, it's very impressive for him to be able to do that. But
and to catch up, yeah.
Oh, yeah. But yeah, to Brian's point, that is cool to have a short track but multiple laps.
Yeah, you might burn yourself up, but like just that hunger of catching people on the trail is so good.
Mm-hmm.
Then you got to deal with the passing people, though. I guess the shorter laps you have, unless you're riding on a 2-track, there's more passing. There's more, likelihood of congestion, which I guess would be frustrating.
Yeah,
2 ways to look at it, I suppose.
It kind of weeds itself out at the start generally.
Yeah.
If you're all starting in the same wave or whatever, which a short track probably would be just one wave start, and so the slower people are off the back, and generally probably you're not gonna lap people, and depending on how long the course is. But
Yeah, so you growing up in like the beginning stages of mountain biking, where you couldn't really buy a mountain bike, you're trying stuff and figuring it out. Like that'd been a wild time, just doing what you want, figuring it out yourself, and you didn't have the internet to figure stuff out. You were just hanging out with your friends and be like, hey, I'm gonna do this and that. That would been a cool time to be around when
we went down to Freewheeler, so that was kind of a
to hang out, go talk, and
Gordy was a wealth of knowledge. He's like had probably not too much different than these days, but parts everywhere.
Where nowadays they have a bike for everything. Like, oh, this is what you do. This is the bike you need. Where back then it was, I don't know, take this old cruiser, and do what you want with it. Hack it up, weld it up, throw whatever parts on it. That'd be a time.
Yeah.
Just to experience that, go through the beginning of everything.
I'll never forget showing up at my first huge downhill race. We had thought we invented dirt jumpers. We had extra small steel frames with long travel 80 millimeter forks on them and motocross handlebars, and we were jumping like BMX, like how Craig was talking about, like building his first BMX bike out of a Stingray. And we thought we were so cool doing it, and then we showed up at the race, and people from all over the country had the exact same idea at the exact same time, and we hadn't seen it in magazines or anything. It's just that was the natural progression of the sport at that time.
Yeah. Necessity.
Yeah, this is where it's going, so this is what needs to happen.
Yeah, the dirt jumper, I discovered it after choosing to, upgrade to a 26-inch wheel from a BMX bike. I rode a BMX bike at college to get from class to class or whatever, and I was the only one of my friends that had a bike at school. And it was a BMX bike with the seat all the way up because, that's the only way that's comfortable to pedal when you're commuting with a backpack. And eventually, once I got like to work in, and you still want to ride your bike, but you just look like a kid on this BMX bike. I was like, I'm gonna get a bigger bike. I'm just gonna see what's out there. And I discovered dirt jumpers. Like, wait a second, they make jump-friendly 26-inch wheels bikes that are actually like cool looking. They look sporty like a BMX bike. I didn't even think about it. Like the first one I saw was a Kona. I was like, I'm buying that. I'm just gonna get that. And then riding that it just felt like you're on like ice skates compared to the BMX bike. So I don't know. I was super jazzed about it. So I guess it makes sense that a dirt jumper evolved from a Stingray or whatever you want to say. Seems to make the most sense. It's funny to me to hear you said you built your first mountain bike, right? Basically.
I mean, I didn't build the frame, but
you assembled it, right?
Yeah.
But it's funny because like today that'd be called a clunker.
Yeah.
With speeds.
Yeah. I mean, it wasn't a lot different than a cruiser BMX bike, but I managed somehow to put maybe a 5-speed derailleur on it.
Right. It's funny though, because if you were to say like, oh, go ride a mountain with that, I'm not doing that. Are you kidding me? I'm not going to make it halfway up the hill. Like,
I would ask if you just zip tied the derailleur on, but not sure zip ties existed yet.
Yeah, I don't know how we got it. I mean, I don't think there was a derailleur hanger on this cruiser.
I think the old ones, they had the hook for the axle.
Yes. Yeah. That's
thinking back to my first mountain bike.
Yep.
Yeah.
That must have been
or modern Huffies.
Mm-hmm.
So you took your mountain biking love and that and turned into a career now. You're a mountain bike mechanic?
Yeah, that's come later in life.
Okay.
I worked for D&W grocery store for basically 30 years, from when I was 16 to 46.
Mm-hmm. Is there many D&Ws left?
There's just a couple. Spartan bought D&W, and they kept a couple of them with the D&W name.
Okay.
So,
but for the most part, they sold the Spartan.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, I worked there. My brother and his wife were family. My brother's wife was family of D&W. He married her, and then I just started working for them. It was just kind of natural. They took good care of me. Before I knew it, I was there a few years, and I had 3 weeks vacation, and being in my 20s, that was pretty awesome. I could pretty much do what I want. And then, 4 and 5 weeks vacation, when I'm 30, and, that was all right.
Yeah.
So, I probably could have done something different, but it was comfortable and allowed me to do the things I like to do.
Mm-hmm.
And then when they sold out to Spartan, I'm like, I'm going to go too, and that's when I ended up, kind of knocking on the bike shop door. And, I was good friends with them, but I just wanted to try something new. So, and it's crazy because, you think you know a lot about bikes, until you go to try to work at a bike shop. And, now it's even crazier with, electronic shifting and hydraulic brakes and e-bikes. And yeah, it can be pretty overwhelming.
Oh, yeah.
So
how much of that electronic stuff do you get into now? Or do you come in with a motor that's not working, you just send that out? Or is that something you actually do in-house now?
Okay, so we sell Trek
at
Rockford Bike Shop. And,
the best.
So, little plug. As far as the motors go, we pretty much just work on the Trek bikes because we can plug them in, get diagnostics on what's going on.
Is it just like a car where you have what's OBD?
You kind of tell you what's wrong with it. And Trek's great with, if there's something wrong, they can get you the part or whatnot. And, as far as other e-bikes, we pretty much just will work on the bicycle mechanics of it. Because, unless you're electronics wizard, these bikes come in with 25 wires hanging off them. It's like, I'm not going there.
Does Trek recommend that you let them kind of handle that stuff? Like if it's motor related or...
I'm sure like Trek would want a Trek authorized dealer to work on their stuff.
Well, that's what I mean. Like if it's warranty related, I'm assuming like anything, if it's a combustible engine from Menards, they have the select areas that can, or locations that can perform repairs for warranty or whatever. Does Trek kind of do that too, where it's like, hey, if the motor's blown its brushes or whatever the terminology is, like just don't worry about that. We'll take care of it. Send it away. It's under warranty. We'll take care of it.
Yeah, I mean, if having trouble with your Trek bike, obviously you're going to either bring it back to where you bought it from the Trek shop, or the good thing about Treks is there's maybe 1,500 Trek shops around the country. You can bring it in there and at least kind of try to figure it out. You know, you're not always going to fix everything while you're on vacation on a Saturday afternoon, but you know, maybe they can help.
Gotcha.
This happened to me over Thanksgiving weekend. My friend Colton, I was down visiting him, and he snapped his crank because the motors inside of his Fuel EXE, he beats the hell out of the bike. Let's be honest here. He's a little bit heavier, and he broke the mounting bolt, so it snapped the spindle, so it ended up breaking his front triangle and the motor mounts and the motor spindle.
Dang.
And Trek had it back to him within a week. Like, it was all put together. Now, the bike shop forgot to put the bushing in the rear linkage that spaces the bearing out. Like, I was riding with him and squeaking. I'm like, what the heck is that noise? So I rebuilt his rear end for him, like, on the side of the trail. And I'm like, where's the washer that goes between the seat stay and the swing arm? He's like, I don't know.
On the floor of the bike shop.
Yeah, I'm like, did you take this apart? And he's like, no. I'm like, are you sure before we accuse them? They ended up fixing it, though, on that Friday, like Black Friday. He walked in the door. They're like, oh, I'm sorry. They fixed it. And we went out riding again the
That's
next
awesome.
day.
Yeah.
That is an advantage of having, like, something that's not boutique. Is like, oh, I need this part right now.
Right.
So working at a bike shop, what is the one repair you hate that when it comes in? Like, you see someone that says, I want this done. You're like, oh, man.
My tires?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Putting Cush core and wire B tires.
We did it at the shop before I went to Portugal, and we fought, and Craig's got Popeye arms, and he got it on. I got home and realized the tire was on backwards. I had to rip it off and redo it.
You pull a typical Kellen.
Yeah, Brian comes in. I could probably do it, but I'm kind of hungover and I don't feel like it or something, wasn't it? So, yeah, we struggled. Some of these tubeless tires can really be a pain in the butt.
I know.
You know, for one, sometimes just taking them off, getting them off the bead, you know, and then sometimes, you know, getting them to seal up. I don't know if there's any one thing that I could just, you know, you see walking in the door. Sometimes you see people walking in with like an old Schwinn or something. And it's like,
You know it's something you can't get parts for easily. And
you know, they want to refurbish it, or you know, there's like it was their grandpa's, you know, but they don't really want to put any money into it.
Yep.
But you know, we can do what we can.
yeah, that's the one thing talking to bike mechanics is they think they're going to be working on all the fancy high-end bikes, where the majority of their work isn't the fancy high-end bikes. It's the Walmart or cheaper bikes. I think working at Rockford Bike Shop, it's more of a, I don't know, they sell more higher-end bikes there. They see more higher-end come in.
We sell all kinds. I mean, you know,
But
we have a great
yeah.
clientele. We, you know, we sell tons of entry-level bikes, and we have a great clientele that wants the fancy bikes as well. You know, we do the repairs on the Huffies as well, you know, especially during COVID. You know, I brought some bikes back to life that, you know, because you couldn't get parts.
Yeah.
So people were bringing some of these bikes out of the barns, and, you know, I felt pretty good about, like, some of those things I rescued, you know.
Yeah.
That's kind of a cool way to look at it. I had my grandmother's bike. I talked to Jacoby about it. He said it was like somewhere around one of the world wars. And the only way he could tell is because it had a skip tooth front ring on it. And my grandpa had passed away, so we were kind of cleaning out his house. And my dad had asked me, "Hey, do you want Grandma's bike?" I was like, "Well, we're not gonna just throw it away. I mean, let me see if Jeff wants it." I didn't have time. I had just my youngest had just been born. I didn't have time to dinker with it or even like spend any time with it. But I gave it to Jeff. He gave it a good home. I would imagine that if he was to ever like resurrect that or refurbish it or whatever, you know, you kind of have that like, yeah, just brought that back to life. That thing's 70 years old or whatever it is, you know. It's kind of got to be kind of a cool feeling. I wouldn't have thought of it that way, working at a bike shop, especially like it's like some kid's huffy. He hasn't ridden a bike in 2 years, and you got him riding a bike again just because you fixed up his, you know, his old bike from childhood.
Yeah, well, you couldn't get bikes during COVID, so people were buying the wrong size bike. They were buying colors that, you know, they didn't care what color it was. They, you know, say, I don't care. I just want a bike, you know, because you needed to be outside. Pretty much sold everything that came through the door, and then it was waiting lists on bikes and whatnot. But yeah, as far as like some of Jacoby's bikes that I see on the the internet. They're kind of cool because he's like uses a combination of like new parts and keeping it somewhat retro. But
yeah, we're trying to get Jacoby on, but he's scared to talk in a microphone for us. But yeah, he has bikes hanging all over his barn in his house, stuff like that, just old stuff. And
his barn's cool.
He has a bunch of cool stuff. He'd
That's
be a
really
good person
cool.
to have on. So and whenever you see Jacoby, anyone listening,
all right,
tell him he needs to get on.
He's a good talker. I mean, he can announce the races.
Yeah, he
but
can announce the
doesn't
races, but he can't talk in a microphone for us.
Huh.
Jenny Acker's become a big cheerleader for us, so I think having her on our side will help out.
Yeah, get him, Jenny.
He'll get on here.
We had a lot of fun with
Come on, Jeff.
You have a Hair of the Dog race to promote, so come on.
There you go. Yes, he does.
Ride.
Ride. Yeah, ride.
Not race. Races need insurance. It's like we have a bootleg ride.
There's no race here.
I mean, the reason that like I've gotten to know you so well is one of the things that you guys do at the bike shop that is sweet is the happy hour, the handlebar happy hour. Everyone kind of hangs out. We play music.
Yeah, we'll get the guitars out and
all kinds of things. Beat on a box. I think I've stomped on things and smacked things to pretend to play drums and stuff.
yeah, it's a lot of fun. We have a really good clientele, and they come in and just kind of hang out. And generally, we call it from 4 to 6 on Fridays. But any given afternoon, there could be a couple people hanging out having a beer.
I've gotten home after 9.
The jam session went a little long.
It happens to be that the Chinese restaurant right next to the shop is one of Courtney's favorites. So I'm always like, I'll get food while I'm out.
There you go.
Then I get home too late and get in trouble.
Yeah, my kids love going to the bike shop because they have the 2 dogs that hang out there.
Yeah.
Like they both love bikes, but it's more like 80% to see the dogs and 20% to look at the bike. But no, every time we're even drive by, can we go stop at the bike shop? They love it there.
I think the Rockford bike shop is where I actually spent my own money on my first bike. You save up all that birthday and Christmas money. I think it's a blue Trek Y-frame BMX bike, something like that. Yeah, I was really happy to get it. I just had to have that Y-frame.
Was that your college bike?
Yeah, ultimately. So yeah, that frame. Ultimately, I replaced the frame with like an Eastern Jane frame. The cranks got upgraded to like a Schwinn 3-piece crank. The brakes were on and off. It had I think the original parts of that bike were still on my college bike, which were the fork stem front wheel and like the seat or something. Yeah, I had that bike, I guess, parts of it for a long time. I still have the fork and the handlebars.
I bet you still have the chain too.
That was a good one. Maybe.
That's what college athletes at D3 schools ride between. You don't get free cars.
I do still have the front spur gear, the front ring, basically, the drive ring. Sprocket.
Chain ring?
Yeah, I mean, it's hardly called a sprocket anymore. It is the thickest piece of aluminum I've ever seen. Yeah, it's like a dinner plate.
All that
Sweet.
power.
Yeah, 44 tooth, I think.
We were just talking about the old downhill bikes with like 58 tooth chain rings on them. Like, I remember riding a 38. Now that won't even fit on a modern downhill bike. Like, there's no way to put it on without modifying your frame. Just how things have changed.
I was just thinking of some of the old Brent walk races. Generally, there would be a dual slalom like on Saturday, and then
I raced all of them.
Yeah, dual slalom, and then the cross country on Sunday. And a lot of people would do both, and the dual slaloms are really fun. Just kind of elimination but
Grass turns.
Yep. I just kind of thought of that. So.
Yeah, Jacoby had a race at Richmond Park a couple years ago, and Todd Britton from Grand Haven showed up with his Pan Racer spike tires from like 1990 something. I'm like, how have those not dry rotted? Do you keep them in a humidor and get them out for grass racing slaloms or what?
He was running studded tires on grass?
No, it was this old tire that was like 1.9 thick mud tire, and it had like, I don't know,
rubber spikes.
Yeah, like an inch long spike, and like they were the worst thing ever on concrete.
Huh.
But they were the best thing ever for grass slalom.
Wow.
You said that was at Richmond?
Yeah.
I remember that. I was there.
It was like a snowy type race. Yeah.
I made the trophies for that race.
Well, speaking of snow, while we're talking about it, you raced snowboards as well. You somehow got hooked up with Burton. I heard a good story about this on the Local Roots podcast.
Yeah. So growing up out in Ada, again, we had farm down the street, which had a huge hill, and everybody would go there and sled. And, you know, we're into skateboarding. We would go there and we did the Snurfs, which were, you know, a lot of people know that they were made in Muskegon.
Tailbone breakers.
Yeah, oh yeah. So we did snurfing over there, and, you know, we were looking in a skateboarder magazine or whatever, and we just kind of saw the new thing was snowboards. So there were the Burton snowboard kind of came out simultaneously as Sims snowboards, which Sims was the big skateboard manufacturer. So we had to get some of these boards, and so we ended up getting them and just taking them over to this local ski hill. It was a sledding hill. At one point in, you know, years past, they actually had a rope tow going up it, but it it didn't work anymore. But everybody would go there and sled, and that's where a good friend of mine and I would practice snowboarding. And we were there, you know, any day that there was good enough snow to we'd have to walk up the hill. Obviously, that's, you know, earn your turns, I guess they say. But, you know, we didn't know if we were any good. There was no videos of, you know, there was just pictures in a magazine. So it was, you know, before obviously the internet or anything. So, you know, we saw something about Panda would have a snurfing competition, and then so we kind of went out there for this snurfing competition, and they had a snowboard class as well, because the year before, apparently Jake Burton showed up the year before on a snowboard and beat all the Snurfers, so they made him have like a special class for the snowboards. But we went out there and tried that, and we did pretty good. We had a couple guys from the Burton team in Vermont showed up, and we were competitive with them, and actually my friend beat one of them. And so they're like, hey, you got to come out to Vermont for the nationals in, you know, a few weeks. So we were 18. I would think we were just out of high school in 1883. So we drove, you know, it was the first big road trip. We packed up the car and drove to Vermont. We got there, and we were there like a week before, and not a week, but 3 or 4 days before the competition, and we went to Killington, and they actually let us ride the chairlifts, and it was amazing. It's like, you know, we're just like, oh my God, I can't believe this.
That's how we feel on our bikes.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it was so amazing. Then, you know, we got into the town where the Burton snowboard factory was, and, you know, it was pretty cool because drinking age was 18 in Vermont. And I think it may be the only state in the country that was 18. So my buddy and I, yeah, let's get some beer. And, you know, it's like, then we saw the Burton sign. It's like, oh, let's go knock on the door. And it's like, you know, we get there and we knock on the door, and is Jake here? You know, Jake Burton, right? His wife's like, oh, the boys are out in the barn, you know, working on something, you know, and this is where they built their snowboards. And so she's like, oh, just go knock on the door. So we banged on the door, and a couple of the dudes answered that we met at Panda like the month before, and they're like, hey, it's the Michigan boys, or, you know, that's what they ended up calling us. And they got beer, you know, it's like, so, you know, we hung out with them, and it was the coolest thing. And Jake was like this old guy, you know, he was like 32, you know, and
oof.
Right?
So old.
Yeah, we were 18, but he was old, you know, so, but he was super cool to us. And, you know, we ended up doing pretty good in our first competition. We were like top 10, and Jake's like, well, I'm putting a team together to go out to the World Championships next month in Lake Tahoe, you know, that Sims was putting on. And so you guys want to go? I'm like, yeah. So he's like, you know, if you guys can get out there, we'll do the lodging and everything. And so we went out there, and we ended up, I think I got 7th in the first World Championships in the downhill or something. It was pretty sweet. And, you know, we got all these jackets and boards, and, you know, we were technically pro snowboarders, but you didn't really get paid. You just got free stuff. But, you know, it was pretty cool. So, you know, looking back, I have an old Thrasher magazine that's got a story about this first World Championships, and it shows the times for the downhill, and it was like 13 seconds or something. You know, it was like, there was no turns, you know, top to bottom, pushing 60 miles an hour. You know, it's like people they'd fall, and they would just busted collarbone.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's before boots and bindings were good.
You know, we were kind of innovative in coming up with with the equipment as well in that scene too. But yeah, that was pretty fun time, just being kind of the pioneer of the snowboards as well. So
that is cool. Can I ask a dumb question?
Uh-huh.
What's the difference between a Snurf and a snowboard?
Well,
is it really just a surfboard?
A Snurfer, it was almost like a water ski, pretty thin, probably about half as wide as and they were very primitive. They had a rope on them.
There was a rope on the front. You held onto the rope on the front that kind of helped you balance.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they had staples in it, and you just
no bindings.
Yeah.
They're almost shaped like a V too.
Yeah, they did have a shape.
They had almost like a boat hull, almost, but not like as pronounced. Just
yeah. And it might even had a little rudder on some of the fancy ones.
Yeah,
but
I remember a small metal rudder in the back.
Yeah,
of them too.
That's what I learned on originally too. There's a reason I made the joke about the broken tailbone thing.
Yeah.
Like I didn't break my tailbone, but I did not.
No, there were no bindings. It's just stand on them.
They worked way better in powder.
Yeah.
Hard pack, you forget it.
I can see that.
It like to shoot out in front of you. It was nice that it had a rope on it, but at the same time.
Yeah, the rope kind of helped with steer it a little bit. You can kind of pull it one way or the other. But, it took a number of years before Canonsburg ever would open up to snowboarding after, our excursion in 1984 or whatever.
Well, snowboarders were hated for a while, weren't they? All skiers. Yeah, they were the outlaws, and no one wanted them on their slopes.
Yep, it was a tough progression, you get on the lift with people and they're like, whoa, what is that? It's like, is that fun? I'm like, no. My mom makes me do it.
As you're kicking their skis.
Yeah.
As it's hanging sideways.
No fun at all.
So being on the Burton team kind of in the beginning, did you help test stuff or design stuff?
Yeah.
Anything you information you gave them actually make it to products?
We all were kind of concurrent of a lot of things. And, as far as, when we got it, the boards we started with just had rubber straps over our feet. And, we realized we needed more support. We needed, some of the bindings to have tighter fit and something to hold your heels up. It wasn't, they took, they advanced pretty quick.
Yeah.
We went from riding boards with wood bottoms to the, within a year or two, they had the P-Tex, which is like the plastic base with metal edges, just like skis. So it wasn't long where the ski industry almost took over the snowboards. We're making them quite advanced pretty quick.
Did the wood bottom ones have sharpened edges on them yet? Or was it just a flat board still?
It was pretty much a flat board. They did have kind of the Snurfers had a bit of a V in the back, and they actually had metal rudders on the sides to help you turn when you could dig in a little bit. But they definitely worked better in powder.
Yeah,
I first learned how to. You said you would do the Snurfing, and where you first met Jake Burton was at Pando.
I didn't meet him at Pando. He was there the year before.
Okay.
Then we met him
when he stalked him at his house.
Yeah, we knocked on his door.
Okay.
Yeah.
But Pando is kind of where everything got kicked off. With snowboards.
They had been doing the Snurfing championships there for a handful of years. I don't know exactly how many years, but it was kind of, they call it the birthplace of competitive snowboarding if you kind of look up Google Pando or something.
That's cool. That's where I first learned how to snowboard.
Yeah?
Yeah, I was in college, and a friend of mine had an extra board, and she had recommended going with her to learn. And I was 21 at the time. So I'm like, yeah, I'm an athlete. I can figure it out. Yeah, I mean, that's your only option is just to go straight down as fast as you can.
At first, yeah.
Yeah, and get the fear out of the way or whatever. And I remember the night after, or I guess the night of learning, how having the worst night's sleep because I dreamt that I got shot in the shoulder because my shoulders hurt so bad.
From falling?
From just falling, yeah. But there's something that stuck with me about it because I don't ski. Okay. I only snowboarded, but yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's cool that it was at Pando. I feel proud about that now.
Do you still snowboard?
Yeah.
Today?
If I'm going out, yeah. I still have my board and boots and stuff. So
cool.
Yeah.
We're all snowboarders.
Yeah.
All right.
We're actually recording within about a mile of Pando right now. The birthplace of downhill
competitive snowboarding.
Yeah. Cool.
And mountain biking almost. I mean, one of the first places that ever had mountain bike races that I know of went up north there was a first big race up at, I think it was the Homestead.
Oh, yeah.
And actually some of the big names came in for it. I know John Tomac was there, and then a couple other guys I can't pull out of my head, but it was pretty cool, seeing him in mountain bike action and then, lining up with him. And it's just like him being a professional cyclist. He would just, just took off, and it's just like, holy shit.
Yeah, Brant Hendler from around here he ended up winning, I think, junior national championship for the U.S. there.
Yeah, for the downhill, right?
Yeah. And then he ended up like doing BMX stuff, and then it went to like crit and road cycling for the U.S. Olympic team. He's fun to ride with. I just talked to him like 2 days ago.
Yeah. Yeah, I know him and his brother.
We were supposed to go to Highlands with them this year. His brother's wife's really good at enduro as well.
Okay. Yeah, his brother, Jameson Handler, I think he was a world champion BMX racer in one of the world championships. Maybe at a younger age, 15 or whatever, but I'm not sure. But
yeah, I mean, he's super involved in it still.
Yeah, those guys had some sprints on them. So
yeah, well, I was riding with Brant at Highlands, and we have such different riding styles. Like he's all about like power and burst, and I'm smooth and flowy typically. So it was hard because if I was in front, I was on him on every single turn. And then he'd like accelerate, and then I'd be on him on the next turn. And if I was the other way, I was slow in the straights compared to him. So it was like this cat and mouse game. But we got some really good GoPro footage from it.
Cool.
Just because it was like a different perspective. You were with me one of my like 3 falls this year on a mountain bike. You watched me eat it pretty good at Canonsburg.
I think that was the only time we've ever ridden together. It was kind of by pure accident. We just ran into each other. You were on some epic ride training for something, I think. And
not training, just out riding.
Yeah, okay.
That isn't how you felt. You ran into each other?
No,
he was showing off a little bit, I think. I don't know.
No, I know exactly what happened. Looking back at it, it was mile 8 of an 85-mile ride of all the trails in West Michigan, like connecting them all.
So you had this epic ride going.
Yeah, that ride didn't go well because he called me like 12 miles into it and said, "Oh, my battery's dead."
Oh, that was 40 miles in. That was at Luton. No, I'd pump my tires up to like 40-plus pounds of pressure, like for all the road sections.
Okay.
And like the exact same turn I would always do, the way I would always do it, I did not have traction.
Huh.
And ended up with a broken Garmin mount and had to come home, which is when I should have got my battery on the way to Luton.
And then you forgot it and called me, "Can you bring me a battery? I can't shift anymore."
That's funny. Well, at least it's good to have somebody to call, right?
Yeah, it was a long day, but it was a good time.
And you got it done. 80 some miles.
Yeah, that was just riding with the legend, Craig. I was riding a little faster in my first stage than I really should have been. And I paid for it on the way back from like Wallfield, which is, I mean, I was 60 miles in, and it is a lot bigger hill back up towards home than I had anticipated.
Yeah, I've ridden that section of road too, and you don't realize how big of a hill it is when you're driving in a car compared to a bike. It's bigger than you think.
It was a pretty warm day, wasn't it, that day?
Yeah, it was like mid-90s.
Yeah, that's warm.
Jeez.
And I did it fasted, so it was like...
Fast? The whole thing?
Yeah.
Why?
I do all my training that way for the most part.
You're fasting your battery too, it sounds like.
Yeah, no charge for me or the battery.
Ouch.
In the winter, do you still snowboard, or you do fat biking, or?
I do both. I don't get out on the snowboard as much as
expensive.
Snowboarding.
Yeah.
Definitely, yes. Generally, you get out to Canonsburg a few times. Hopefully up north a couple times. I love it if I can get out west. It doesn't happen very often. Maybe every 5 years or something. But yeah, that makes it all worthwhile if you can get out west.
That's kind of what got me out of snowboarding. Is that it just priced me out of it as far as lift tickets. I just got too expensive for me to go all the time.
Yeah, and then you come back to Michigan after being out west. You're pretty much done for the year.
Yeah.
You almost got to wait till the next season to even care about going to the local hills.
I feel that way about bike trips sometimes.
Yeah.
I like to go out to Idaho for snowboarding. They have like a cheap deal at the end of the year. It's like the only time I can afford to go. But it's like $150 for the rest of the season at Schweitzer, which is like the hidden veil of... And it's lower altitude, so
you can breathe?
Yes. I do not do well with altitude.
It's tough. even like we think we're in pretty good shape, and you go out and you catch a long run, and it's like, especially at altitude, you just like got to stop and just like, all right, regroup, and your legs are just like burning.
I can't even do that. Like I have to spend the first 24 to 36 hours in a bed or a bathtub.
Oh, really?
I get real sick.
Huh.
Like real sick.
Well, that'd be a good enough reason to go somewhere that it's not too high.
Yeah, it's like we never go up in the mountains to ride. It's come up a couple times on the show before, but I got altitude sickness when I was with Kellen at 5,500 feet.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I was drinking a lot, so that didn't help.
Not water.
I mean, tequila,
Okay.
beer.
Yeah.
There was water in it.
Some.
It was ultras, so I mean, Michelob Ultra is like 99% water, ish.
Yeah, it's like instant. As soon as you got down the normal level, you were fine too.
Yeah, everyone thought it was like kind of COVID-y times, and like I was throwing up and like
Oh, man.
big fever and like bad. And I rode back with Kellen, and as soon as we got back down to like regular elevation, I was fine. And then we rode a bunch of times on the way home that day. Totally fine. I just start panicking, and my body starts not doing well.
Wow.
So you don't race snowboards anymore, then just you ride for fun.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just like my kids kind of started doing it just a few times a year.
Yeah.
But it's enjoyable when you can get out and do it with I have a son and a daughter.
Okay.
And they like to get out with me a couple times a year.
Yeah, I got a son and daughter too, and one just turned 5, the other one's 7. I'm kind of in that age where I'm like, do I try to get them to start learning now? And it'd be great to go ride
Yeah.
with them. But
I think it's good to at least have them have that skill. Like, if they ever get invited to go somewhere, they know how to do it.
It'd be fun even just to go with them, have
Yeah.
fun as
Yeah.
as a family. But man, it's going to be expensive. I know it right now. But I don't want to teach them something that's going to cost me an arm and a leg.
Yeah, well, as far as the equipment's cheap, I mean, you can get used stuff,
Yeah.
but yeah, lift tickets. A lot of places have deals for kids, or excuse me, even free lift tickets if you're under 6 or something. So
Yeah.
take advantage of that when you can.
I was thinking of that too. My oldest is 5 years old, and it would be nice to kind of get her exposed
Yeah,
to that so she has like the skill later. And then I think about the price of lift tickets. I'm like, you know what? I learned when I was 21, and I still can go to some of these places. Is it, maybe I'll just wait or whatever. But what would you recommend? You said you got a couple kids that are doing it.
yeah. I would say if you can get them out, you can buy a cheap board to use for $100 and take them out to Cannonsburg. And don't quote me, but I think it's maybe 6 and under are free or something. But I would just take my kids and I would stand on the hill and just help them. Yeah, I wouldn't even be out there snowboarding. I would just push them up around and run up and down the hill and get a good little workout.
Yeah, guess what?
Chasing them around. But
At what age do you think is good to start them off? I mean, it's all relative,
I would say
right?
5.
Okay.
Oh, geez. My friends in the UP started their kids before they could walk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there's some that I'm not like a diehard winter enthusiast, right?
Yeah.
I got into snowboarding because my friend, who happened to be like kind of cute, said that I should try it. I'm like, all right, yeah, let's do it.
You're not talking about me, right?
It was a she. Are you a she? No. Okay. Where was I going with that? Yeah. So I'm not like a huge winter enthusiast, but like it got me through some winters, and it is fun.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm not gonna go want to ride mountain bikes in the snow. That's no fun. But
Fat bikes are pretty fun, actually.
I've never been, but I've wanted to try it.
Yeah.
Just I don't have a fat bike.
Yeah. If you can get good conditions, it's pretty amazing. It's just like almost like you're just kind of floating over the snow. Like you go to Merrill or something where there's a lot of roots and ruts or whatever. If it's a groomed, fat bike trail, you're just floating. I mean, and it's just like all white. It's just very peaceful out there. We don't get that many good days for fat biking, but the days that are good, it's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
See, I want to get the job of being the fat bike trail groomer. I mean,
Don't volunteer out loud.
getting on
That way?
if I can drive the snowmobile and go groom the trail, like that sounds like fun to me. Riding.
It sounds like you just got a job.
Well,
Because Freyr's going to listen to this.
someone hooked me up with a snowmobile and send me on the trail.
It's
Is
in
it
the
a
trailer, or it's in the shed at Merrill.
Oh, well,
Is it a snowmobile or a ruckus?
That one's a ruckus. But Canonsburg is a snowmobile with a sled.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
Sounds like fun to me, actually.
Do you
probably,
race?
probably till I do it once, I'm like, oh, this is cold and sucks.
Do you race fat bikes still?
I've done a couple. Usually that time of year, I'm just kind of enjoying getting out and doing it. Cannonsburg used to have a race. I would do them just because they're local.
Dabble?
Yeah. Just something to do.
One of the other things I remember as I listened back to the Local Roots podcast is do you still make your power bars?
I do. I call them Geese bars.
Yeah, I was gonna have you bring some, and I with the whole 3-hour notice of doing a show, I forgot to mention that.
Okay. Well, I got a bag in the car. I'll hook you up afterwards. So
You need to make power bars and then power bars with nuts and call the ones with nuts geese nuts.
yeah, I've heard that one.
I'm not the first. Man.
Geese balls.
I've heard the geese balls thing, yeah.
But no, I just started making them, I just kind of saw them somewhere and thought, well, I'd like to bake and whatnot. And so I kind of got a basic recipe and then I tweaked it a little bit. Mm-hmm. So it's all good stuff, peanut butter, honey, oats, sunflower seeds, raisins.
I literally just learned this today, but one of the guys I work at does the same thing. He makes his own power bars because he says the good ones that taste well are too expensive. So he just makes his own. And that's what he does.
I mean, with all the good ingredients, if you were to buy them like retail, I sell them at the bike shop just because I'm not like licensed to make them or anything, but it's mostly just friends. And
yeah, he said the ones that have good ingredients either taste horrible or they're way too expensive, so it's make your own.
Remind me if I bring you guys some
geese nuts,
geese bars. Yeah.
Is there a website or something that goes?
I do have a website, but just more or less because I wanted to secure the name. But I put a picture up there and the ingredients are and just a little bit of a story about it. But
is it a picture?
Geesebar.com. I think it's a picture of me riding my bike or something.
Say, is it a picture of you in your Burton skin suit from 1983?
No.
Is that what you're racing back then?
Powered
Skin
by
suits?
Geesebar.
Yeah.
Did you?
Well, they gave us, the speed suits because, we had to be fast. They wanted us to win. So it was pretty cool though because we were racing. I would compete against like Tom Sims.
Yeah.
Who made Sims snowboards. If you guys might remember Sean Palmer.
I was about to ask.
Yeah, Sean Palmer. He was like they called him Mini Shred. He was, we were 18. He was probably like 13. He just kind of showed up on the scene about the same time we did. He was, just a maniac. He went on to race downhill mountain bikes and I think snowmobiles and motorcycles. And
he's good at everything.
Amazing athlete.
His documentary on Red Bull is awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, he was the character. Like, it was a lot of partying back. Those snowboard competitions were as much about who could, stay up and party the most and still function the next day.
You had to win the race and win the party.
There was no points for the party, but it was kind of
was
respect. But
points among your peers.
Yeah,
street cred.
I mean, that's how biking was too.
Yeah,
I remember the original downhill races we were going to were slamming beers with G. Atherton from the UK. It was like the first time I met somebody from England actually.
Huh.
Was him and like Lee Donovan and like a couple of the other people were sitting.
I remember that name.
She still rides.
Oh.
Like Courtney knows her. But yeah, sitting there in New Jersey just slamming beers with these people, and I hadn't drank up to that point. Like I was a real late drinker. I make up for it now.
Yeah,
but I was real late to the party. Like I'd never drank before I was 21. I got like my first bike contract, and they're like, "Well, you can either race bikes and we'll give you stuff, or you can party with all your friends." I'm like, I'll be the designated decoy at all the parties. Greet the cops, say hello.
Yeah, when I was younger, as racing mountain bikes, I could party pretty good the night before. That was about the time I was playing in the band, stay up late and get home from the gig at like 3 a.m. and have to be at the mountain bike race at 8:30 in the morning or something. And I don't know, the hangovers didn't really bother me then. Sometimes people thought I was faster when I was hungover. So.
Just wanted to get done quicker.
Yeah. Maybe. You just didn't feel any pain, maybe. I don't really
sweat this out and like get out of here.
I don't know how. I mean, I couldn't do it today, I
mean, we mentioned right at the beginning your birthday party. That was sweet. It was knowing you from the shop, riding and stuff. I couldn't believe how big of a party that was.
No, it turned out
wild.
Great. Yeah.
And I learned that I really like nothing but cakes. I probably had 6 of them.
Yeah, they were good. It's just a little someplace. I don't know. My wife picked them up.
Yeah,
they were on Shark Tank.
Okay.
Oh, is that where they were? Because I was recently in Florida and I saw a shop there too.
Okay,
Oh, really?
so it must be national then.
It must be.
Okay, yeah.
I watched The Pitch. It was a good episode.
Did they get the money?
Yes, they did.
Nice.
But like your band played there, that was fun, and your nephew's band was really good too.
Yep.
What was their name again?
Lefty.
Lefty.
Yep.
They were good. They were loud, but they were good.
Yeah, they live, majority of them live over on the lakeshore, Saugatuck area.
I was
So-
going to say the left side, but it's
Yeah.
not the left side.
No, that was a good time.
Yeah, I'm glad so many people showed up, you know.
I got to talk to a lot of people that I hadn't talked to in a long time. Like I sat with like Marnie 10K.
Yeah.
She was telling stories about you guys working at D&W together. That was super fun. And then like people like kept showing up. The people that we played music with at happy hour at the bike shop all showed up eventually. Eventually they got there.
Yeah. Yeah, I knew Marnie from high school, and then she ended up marrying Scott, who I played cards with, you know, post high school. And then that was even before they were into bikes, you know, and eventually they started mountain biking, and then I kind of reconnected to them with that.
Yeah, they're on the schedule coming up.
Oh, cool.
Like she was telling me stories that night, and I'm like, you've got to come on. And then we told her that we had done a podcast with Andy Fleenstra, and she's like, oh my God, Dozer, I need to listen. And like, they're into it. They're just trying to like time it with Lumberjack entry, I think.
Right on.
So probably sometime in February. But I mean, that was just such a good time that you had the whole bar at Canonsburg full.
Yep, yeah.
So Brian also mentioned that you are a skateboarder. Is that kind of how you got into snowboarding
That's kind
too?
of how we got into snowboarding. Yep, we had the Wind Waves and Wheels.
Yeah, oh, I
up
remember
in
that
Rockford.
place. Yep.
They had a really nice ramp, and I lived in, like I said, I still lived in Ada, but we were always driving up to Rockford like 4 days a week to skate that ramp. Yep.
Nice. So that kind of got you in the snowboard and all that too. Is the
Yeah, we kind of saw it in the snowboard and skateboarder
Yeah.
magazine. It just kind of went hand in hand because winter, you couldn't really, we didn't really have any place to skateboard in the winter. There was a park out in Jenison that was indoor that we would go to when I was younger, but I think it had kind of closed at that point.
Okay.
But
you didn't do any competitions as far as skateboarding or anything like that?
no,
No,
pretty much just
for fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could see how a lot of that skill would transfer with the snowboarding. I don't skateboard at all, but I could see how that would transfer over. I can't skateboard at all, but even though I can snowboard, but
Falling hurt a lot more on skateboards than snowboarding.
yeah,
I bet.
snow gives a little bit.
Yeah. When we snowboarded, there was no freestyle. It was just all, like you said, racing, downhill or slalom. And then it kind of, as it evolved, the half pipe thing came about, and slope style where they're just hitting these big jumps and all the rails and stuff. But none of that was a thing.
Were they the real skinny skateboards when you were doing it too?
No.
No, they were what you'd think of as a typical
for-
skateboard now. Yeah.
They're actually fatter back when
Oh,
in
were
the
they?
old days, and they've slimmed down a little bit for like ramps and stuff. Yeah, they were pretty big, wide skateboards.
What's the longest skateboard trip you've ever done?
Oh, this
It was on my list of.
this story, yes. I'm kind of infamous for this one. People ask about it. Me and a couple buddies, we lived in Easttown in our 20s, and we skateboarded, and we got pretty loaded one night, and we're like, our Sunday tradition was to go to the beach, and just kind of chill on the beach, and we're like, dude, we should just skate there, So I was like, yeah, right, One thing led to another, and it's like, next thing you know, it's like, all right, we're gonna do it. So we might have been on a few drugs and a lot of alcohol for sure. So we did it. We got. I remember getting on the highway. It's like, what way did you take? But we went right down the highway and got off at Lake Michigan Drive. And, took Lake Michigan Drive all the way to the end and turned right towards Grand Haven, and it took 11 hours maybe.
Yeah, that's a push.
Yeah, I imagine
Dude.
you'd be going the shoulder of the highway, and those are not smooth. Those are full of like little gravel
Oh my
and all
God.
that.
I'm surprised we didn't get arrested or,
I would've-
or killed.
I would have for sure thought you'd have pulled a Marty McFly and just hitched a ride on someone's car all the way out there.
Didn't
Yeah.
you do it at like the middle of the night?
Yeah, we left Easttown at probably midnight.
So you're there for the sunrise.
Yeah.
And it
He's
was
there
like
for noon,
11.
He's there for lunch.
It was like 11 o'clock when we got to the beach. But the thing I remember is like looking at our watch, and it's like, dude, we got to get to like Standale before the liquor store closes, because we needed a little boost, and we get in there and it was like 5 after 2 and we couldn't buy any more beer or whatever, so we had to get like candy and Mountain Dew or whatever, and just to fuel we had like bags, It was crazy. Yeah, we're lucky we didn't die.
Did you skateboard back home?
No. I just remember being on the beach and falling asleep and getting really sunburned and someone giving us a ride home.
That's a hike. I rode my dirt bike when I got it legalized from Grand Haven to Belding. That was brutal. But
Did it have a motor?
Yeah, it was a dirt bike. Okay. I just had it street legalized, but it was at night. My light didn't work. It pointed up at the trees, so I couldn't see anything. So I was completely relying on having a car in front of me to follow for the most part. I couldn't imagine doing that. And I took the route you did, all through Standale and Allendale, and I couldn't imagine doing that on a skateboard.
I walked it.
You walked it?
I walked it when I was younger to prove a point with a friend.
Were you mad at him?
No. We had both moved away, and we were just home, and we want to catch up. So we used to ride it all the time on our bikes when we were younger, and it was just from Walker to Grand Rapids. So it was 33 miles, or
that's still
not Walker to Grand Rapids, Walker to Grand Haven.
That's pretty far.
Yeah, from my work in Walker, I got a ride to there from the airport, and so did he. And then we met up, and then we walked to Grand Haven, and then we decided to not sleep the entire time we were both in town, that was a mistake. And it got to this point where we were riding this tandem bike around, and we fell asleep riding a tandem bike and hit a tree. It was a pretty wild.
How many days were you awake?
4.
Holy crap!
Yeah, it gets surprisingly difficult after 2.
I don't think I've made it much more than 24 hours ever.
No.
Did you have some stimulants?
Probably. It was before I drank, so it was I wasn't having booze.
His stimulant was friendship.
Yeah, I guess.
I think it was trying to make out with all the cute girls in Grand Haven that we didn't have a chance to. But now that we didn't live in town, it was more accessible. One of those stories, I guess.
Did you stay up that long to prove a point also?
Just we were maximizing our time.
Didn't want to waste it.
Yeah, I could sleep when I'm dead.
There you go.
It was the original YOLO in 2002. Well, I guess on that dumb story note, you should probably wrap this up because I think we're over an hour now.
Wow.
Yeah.
I would really like to thank you for coming through in a pinch for us. We were supposed to have Lauren on today, and unfortunately, his son had pneumonia and had to go to the ER.
Oh, no.
He let me know earlier this afternoon, and I'm probably a jerk because I don't think I texted him back and said, yeah, that's okay. But I know he'll listen, so it's fine.
He'll just know a month later.
Yeah, he'll know in
This
2
isn't live, is it?
No,
Okay.
He'll know in 2 weeks. Texted Craig at 3 today to record at 7 today. Both Kellen and Kyle were like, who?
Now you know.
Brian was quick with the links. We got a link to you on a snowboard. We got a link to the Local Roots podcast that you did, your Facebook profile, so we were able to brush up.
Right on. Well, we'll get out and bike or snowboard sometime.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to come see your band play. Do you guys have a website that shows when you play or where or anything?
We do have a Facebook page. The band I'm in now is called Rogue Fraternity. We don't play out a whole lot. It's a lot of work as you get older. We like to shoot for a couple times a year. Carrying all that shit up from the basement, setting it all up, taking it all back down.
Oh, you conned people into taking it down.
I needed help. It's a lot of work, but I appreciate all the help I can get. We'll keep you posted if we get a gig, and it'd be fun to have you out.
Come to happy hour on a Friday.
Yeah,
we just play acoustic guitars and beat a box and stuff. And
nice.
Harmonica.
There you go. Yeah.
Craig's really good on the harmonica.
Nice.
Yeah, I've started playing mandolin as a new hobby, picked up during COVID. So
nice.
It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, they for whatever reason they like playing songs with really quick and a lot of chord changes to really just confuse everyone that's new. But if you
bluegrass,
jazz.
It's a little like that. But
okay.
I would say folky rock, but they really like the quick 3-chord changes in a single bar, and you're like, ugh. I just play weird harmonies, and they're like, "Oh, that sounded good." I'm like, I didn't know what to play.
Brian's a very talented musician. It'd be fun to hear some of his old stuff as well.
It's only been a decade or two.
Yeah.
The drum sets are there. Just go play something.
Yeah.
I
But
keep thinking about folk rock and just calling it fuck.
Fork.
It's so
Oh.
stupid. I keep snickering of it. You probably hear me breathing hard in the microphone.
Fuck.
I kind of used to play fuck. What?
What do you guys play?
Nothing.
What?
I have no musical talent at all.
Everybody should play something, I think.
I agree. Something.
Do you play something?
I play guitar.
Do you? Cool.
Yeah. I'm not in a band or anything, but
I'm
No,
good
but
at
it.
Even if just sitting on your couch, it's like, I feel like it's a good.
I'm the only one
it's
here
a
that
great
can't play an
time
instrument.
passer.
Kyle's got a bunch of good YouTube videos of him playing.
Yeah?
Like covers
Got a
and
few,
stuff.
yeah.
Yeah.
Huh.
I'm not a performer though, so I choke.
That's what
Well-
Stephanie said.
Boom roasted.
There we go.
Dang it. Anyway,
Anyways, back to saying goodbye.
So yeah, well, what was the site we can go check out your band at?
Rogue Fraternity on
Rogue
Facebook.
Fraternity.
Yep.
And then you have another website.
I have geezebar.com.
Geese Bar.
There's not much on there, but you can stop in the bike shop at Rockford Bike Shop and pick up some Geese bars.
Nice.
Bars, not nuts.
Not nuts. But I can make custom ones too, you know. Some people are like allergic to things and, you know.
We should definitely have. We should license you out to make our pedal progressions geese nuts.
I could. Yeah. Well, thanks for having me.
Yeah. Thanks for coming on. Anything else you want to plug? You got Instagram, Facebook?
No,
Whatever.
nothing I can think of.
All right. Perfect. Well, yeah, we appreciate you coming on. We appreciate everyone listening. And like always, guys, remember to keep progressing, keep pushing yourself, and have fun. Thanks. See ya.
yeah.
Bye.
Bye.